This is Mogobe Nuggets of Wisdom podcast. We infuse, we energize, we inspire, and we empower entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs of all stripes in BW and beyond. Hello and welcome to yet another powerful and special episode of Mogobe Nuggets of Wisdom podcast. I'm so delighted and excited to welcome you here from Msanzi. We're right in Johannesburg, and I am pleased because this is the first time. I think you're beginning to notice I'm a little nervous. This is the first time actually shooting from Johannesburg, and I have two e-commerce entrepreneurs. I'm very, very excited. But before we start our recording, can I just ask a small favor? Please strike that notification bell. Please get hold of that subscribe button. We need you. You'd be surprised how much just one button, what difference one button makes. And we need your support for this podcast to get to places. We're shooting here from Msanzi. We have people watching us from all over the continent and indeed all over the world. And your help is vastly appreciated. I have these two young entrepreneurs, e-commerce entrepreneurs. They're about to introduce themselves, Obert Rukato and Bogosi Morujele. I hope I'm saying your name correctly, sir.
No problem, Close enough.
Let's get the ball rolling by you telling the viewer who you are and sharing, if you like, your condensed CV, a little bit of your background.
Sure.
Where shall I start? Shall I start with Morujele?
No problem, thank you.
Yes, yeah.
Bogosi Morujele. I'm the CEO and founder of Bobsa.
Yes.
And I'm here with my business partner. He'll obviously introduce himself. I have experience with Obert as a best friend. So anything we've done, anything in my CV has him right next to me.
Yes.
And currently, if we're looking at my CV, I studied at WITS, Bachelor of Health Sciences. I do nothing health sciences related. Mm-hmm. I jumped into entrepreneurship because I saw that was the path that I wanted to take. And so I currently am into entrepreneurship at the moment, and that's me and what I'm doing, yeah.
Fantastic. Yourself?
I think Bogosi did explain that, we've spent a large amount of time together in our lives. We grew up together. Like, that's how close we are. Almost, I'd say, brothers. Mm-hmm. But, in terms of my background, I did my undergrad, postgrad, all at WITS in psychology. So that's one of my spaces. But entrepreneurship-wise, I've been on Bobsa for the whole journey. Yeah.
Okay. What triggered your interest in e-commerce? If I can start with you, Obert.
I think, number one, I must say it was the initial trigger must have been Bobo. We also noticed a couple of things just living life. I think we come from a very privileged position. I think if not lower middle class, upper middle class. So we noticed that we had a lot of things that people that look like us weren't necessarily able to access. So that was a big wake-up call to say, how can we do something to contribute or to make a difference in the lives of our people? Mm-hmm. That was the main initiator for me.
Okay. If I'm guessing you were influenced by somebody like, the founder of Amazon.
I think a lot of entrepreneurship stories are very inspiring. And for me, it was more on the social side of things and the history we had in South Africa, especially on the continent. If you just generally look at a lot of the big e-commerce players, just retailers in the continent, a lot of them were started during colonization or apartheid here in South Africa. Mm-hmm. So it's although we are past the apartheid times, what we saw was that the retail industry within the continent and South Africa is still pretty much dominated by the same companies that dominated it back in the day. So, from that experience, our experience of school and kind of seeing the kind of privilege that we have and it not being something that all of the country or all of the continent experiences, we realize that, we have to do something. And doing something, there are many different parts or ways you can do something. Mm-hmm. And for us, we believe that e-commerce, retail, looking at the future of shopping for the young African population, how can we make sure that we are spearheading that movement? Yeah.
Bobsa Rekaofela. I just like those two names, the way they roll in the tongue. But just share the background in terms of how it all started, where the name came from. Does it mean anything?
I mean, I think to go back into, I suppose, Bobsa's history, it initially started as Black-owned businesses ZA. That's what we came with, trying to, I suppose, aggressively change the social situation, the social...
B-O-B, Black-owned businesses.
Yeah.
ZA.
And I think initially at that time as well, we thought that, yeah, ZA is kind of where we're starting and it's where we're going to launch from. Over time, it has changed because we've realized that that is almost playing into the same patterns that we're trying to leave in terms of excluding a whole group of people. And we've become Africa's online shopping home. So all African businesses, that's what we do.
And to add, now we don't say we're Black-owned businesses, my nickname is actually Bobo, and Obert's nickname is Bobsa. So our new reason behind the name is a merging of two names.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
And Rekaofela, which means you are together. Are you referring to your clients, your customers? You're together with them, or does it have another meaning? Rekaofela, obviously in the Setswana we'd say Remoho, we're all together. Could there be a deeper meaning than that?
I think it's exactly what it is. I think when we want people to look at our logo to see and read out Rekaofela, we want them to know exactly what it is as soon as they look at it. And it's literally that we're all together, we're in this together. We as Africans, can rely on each other more than we need to rely on external continents and countries, but it's just looking internally and seeing that we are enough, we have enough, and we can do amazing things together.
When did the company start? Can you also take us through those baby steps,
Sure.
as it were?
So it started in about 2020. That's when we formally registered the business.
Right at the height of COVID.
Yes, exactly then. And I'll tell you why. It was during COVID when we would see a lot of small businesses popping up on social media, so social commerce. These are people who maybe lost their jobs because of COVID, people who thought they needed more income because of COVID, because of tough times in general. And what we saw is that a lot of these businesses would then advertise their products on social media. So that'd be your Instagram, your Twitter, your Facebook, that kind of thing. But as a consumer, as a shopper, it becomes very difficult for you to shop on a social media platform. When you go onto a social media platform, you're there for entertainment, you're there to engage with your community. Whereas what we had seen with our African community, if I can say, on the businesses that advertised on these social media platforms, they didn't only advertise on social media platforms, but they sold exclusively on these social media platforms as well. Whereas if you look at the bigger brands that are more accessible, they use social media as a way to get out into the market, get well known in the market, establish their brand identity. And from there, they move on to now your dedicated selling platforms, whether it's a website, whether it's a retailer. So we thought there's this big gap of businesses that are doing the right thing in using social media platforms that are free, that are widely accessible to get the right marketing efforts and push the right material. But we thought, how do we then now make these businesses actually accessible? So what I would do a lot of the time during lockdown was I would bookmark a lot of these beautiful businesses that I would see, whether it's as simple as cleaning detergents or your bags that are created by these African entrepreneurs. And I would always tell myself that, hey, when I have money, I will buy from these businesses. And I think after a few years, I realized I have too many of these businesses saved from 2-3 years ago. But, when I'm doing my shopping, I'm either at the shops or I'm searching on a search engine like Google for a certain product. So again, it's how do we then create and move this ecosystem of quality, small, generally businesses on social media and move them into a dedicated online platform that actually now delivers to customers and makes it accessible.
We'll talk about the mechanisms and the logistics in a minute, but can I understand how the two of you work together? What are your respective roles in the business?
I mean, as it's been for the last 6 months, if I can say, We've kind of both been on the ground aggressively working on things, whether that's adding businesses, uploading businesses, contacting new businesses, and then on the other side, searching for ways to expand. So that's trying to get as many influential people backing the brand as possible, or trying to get into different incubators and places where we can grow as entrepreneurs to get better access for the customers we serve. That's what we've been
Isn't
busy
there a
with.
CEO and a chief operations officer, that sort of thing? That's what I was alluding to, position-wise. Or are you still a stage where everybody is doing everybody else's job?
A little bit. I think we all have to be able to do a lot more than just the roles we have on paper. While we scale, while we build, we have to be able to do everything for now.
Yeah. Okay, so I can't even call you a CEO.
I'd say CEO and
A CEO and when is COO or deputy?
COO and.
Okay, I understand. Now, tell us the actual mechanics of how it works. How do you go about onboarding a new client or customer, and what the process entails?
Okay, so from the point of call, if I just got off the phone with the new supplier, it's that we'll ask them to sign a supply agreement contract that stipulates the T's and C's. Then we'll also ask them for pictures of their product, a detailed description of that same product, and from that point, we'll be able to sort the product, have the
You're
pictures.
with an aeroplane there. Okay. Go ahead, sir.
So once we have the product pictures, we'll then be able to get them to the website specs and get the product onboarded from then.
I'll pick a random product. This is one of the products on the platform, Lula. Tell us about that one and how you went about making it part of the platform.
I mean, so with Lula, I think it was also maybe one of our more recent acquisitions. But from them, it was quite an easy process. They are based in towards the north of Johannesburg, I'd say maybe getting towards Pretoria. And with them, getting them on board was a simple process. We asked for pictures of this product. He gave us, I think, 3 or 4. And then from there, he has a product range of hand wash and something else. It escapes me now.
Yeah.
But from that point, once we had the pictures and the pricing schedule, it was easy to get them on
Do you
board.
vet the products in any way to check whether they are registered with? In Botswana, we call it Bobs. The authorities that check the products' quality assurance aspects and so on and so forth.
I think for us it's been difficult as a small business to do any serious vetting at that scale. But what we do is as you can see, I'm wearing shoes that we sell on our platform. So what we do is we test a lot of the products ourselves, because at the bottom of what we have done at Bobsa is we've created a platform that we want to shop at because of the belief systems we have and the love we have for our continent. So first and foremost, we are our own customers, and we just try our best to give ourselves the best and in turn give our customers the best.
Okay.
And that's what we do.
Do you mind if I add as well?
Yeah.
Just to say that I think that's also part of our growth as a business that's scaling and growing, to be able to, once we're that size, be able to offer that process for businesses to go from are we sure, are we not, to officially everything is perfectly done.
Who are your customers generally? Who's showing interest in shopping on your platform?
Okay. So I guess can I speak about our target market and then the main interest?
Yes.
Okay. So our main target market has been young working professionals. Number one, we feel like we've got a good grasp on that group of people. Number one, because it is us, but it's the people that we interact and engage with. They are majorly female. At this point in time, that's because that's the biggest, I want to get the wording correct, but that's the biggest growing and maybe biggest grossing group shopping online. And that's essentially the gist of our target
I mean,
market.
it's an established fact. Women shop far more than men. So, any other demographic across the continent?
Across the continent, I think it would be very easy to say everybody, but I think at this point in time, we're still going to try and keep it refined to that group of people across the continent. But we definitely want everybody to be buying from Bobsa.
I'm going to ask you about this particular company and that sells these products called Organic Naturals. First of all, tell me what those products are. And I'll tell you why, for the benefit of the viewer, why I'm fascinated about this one is that I'm a minority shareholder. I've invested in that company, Organic Naturals, through Angel Network Botswana, which I'm one of the founders of in Botswana, which I'm very proud of. And it's fascinating when I discovered that the product is on your platform. But can someone take me through how that process developed so that somebody who's potentially thinking about joining our platform can benefit from learning about that process?
I think for us, the most important thing is...
What is that thing, first of all?
First of all, this is a Wild Rose facial toner. I'm not really good with specific facial products. I kind of just use soap and cream. But yeah, this is a facial toner.
This one here is a brightening botanical serum. I think the skincare gurus will be able to tell us exactly what it's about.
Tell me the background, how it all started.
Like I was mentioning, I think for us, a big part of how we've gotten to where we are right now is we do our best every single moment we show up for Bobsa. So how we actually came across Organic Naturals was through a referral. So we had worked with somebody, I'm not too sure who, but we had worked with somebody, I think, who worked with somebody else, but we worked with them and they were so impressed by the professionalism that we showed. And from there they had mentioned that, I heard you guys as in Organic Naturals were looking to expand into South Africa. And what I believe at the time, Organic Naturals was on Takealot. And they weren't really impressed with the performance on Takealot. So they had suggested us as Bobsa as an online retailer alternative. And from there, that was, I believe, one of the first partnerships with a business that was obviously outside of the South African borders, which was a huge achievement for us at the time and still right now. And from there, what we do with all the businesses we work with, it's testing, it's trying, it's failing, it's succeeding, learning from our failures and succeeding even more. And I think this company, which comes from Botswana, is one of the top performing brands on our platform, which is obviously something that we're extremely proud of because of what we're doing, which is becoming Africa's online shopping home, making African products accessible to Africans at the end of the day. And the fact that a product like this from Botswana can do well in South Africa just goes to show that all of these amazing brands that are there that we just don't know have amazing quality products, are running things very professionally, and have opportunity to expand across the continent, and not only across the continent, but even wider. But the idea is just that we need to think bigger. And that's the idea.
The process of onboarding these products and the companies, does it have any legal formalities? Is there any bureaucracy, paperwork involved?
There's slight paperwork, so obviously we try our best to keep as professional as possible, make sure our suppliers are confident in the relationship that we embark on. And because we're not established, because the suppliers we work with aren't established, it's relationships that we're starting out from fresh. And a lot of the time with relationships, they rely heavily on trust. So for us, part of that is obviously we have documentation. In terms of the documentation, it's contracts that we've drafted that we then share with our suppliers to have a look at, and then we take it from there, basically.
And I have some breaking news that I've written a book here, Nuggets of Grit, which I've recently signed a contract with you so that I can onboard it with you and I see there are other books here. Just for the benefit of authors such as myself and other authors out there, what is the process involved in onboarding authors or writers in general?
It would go the same way that any product would go through. So it's you approach us, so we find you, you tell us what you do, what your book is about, and you list it on our platform as long as we're happy, as long as you're happy. And you give us a description of your product. Ideally, if you've got photos, if you've got marketing material that can allow us to obviously market your book in the way that you want to, that will help us as well. But essentially, it's just bringing more African stories, whether it's entrepreneurship stories like yourself here, or it's simple language books. It's about Rekaofela.
This is a Setswana book, eh?
Yes, this is a Setswana book. So there are two parts to this book. There's this one, there's another one there, and this is actually by my granddad. And it's
granddad?
my granddad. So it's a tribute to his late wife. And it's just basically Setswana. It's written here, language without boundaries. Thank you. And then here we've got your commonly used words and expressions. So all Setswana. Yeah.
No, that's fascinating. So if I'm looking for one of these books, or if I'm looking for books in general, where do I go in the platform? Is there a particular route that I take to access what's available?
So like we mentioned, we want to make sure that what we do is accessible. So we do have categories for all the different products that we have. So our categories at the moment are cleaning detergents, beauty products, your beverages, as well as your scents. So that's your perfumes, your diffusers, that kind of thing.
Speaking of beverages, I'm munching at one of them called Ginger Treat. Me being a bit of a health fanatic, I like these ginger treats. Tell me which product, which company is involved with that project, and how does one involve? Tasty, very tasty. How does one involve edibles in the platform?
So I think in terms of speaking about the company in specific, Chorus is a brand from Zim. Also, I think our second brand from Zim, so when we got them uploaded, it was quite a big deal for us because that's
from
more
Zim,
expansion.
by the way, isn't it? It's from home.
It's from home, which is, I guess, while we're there, the feeling that we're trying to bring to everyone. Rekaofela, we want to bring everyone home. So when you make a purchase, you should feel like you're home. And speaking to Chorus, it was an interesting situation because I was put in touch with them by my sister, who has a couple of businesses that she's working on that side. And there also was a similar story to organic naturals. We want to get into the South African market. How can we reach? What can we do? And since then, they've been, I think, the second bestseller in terms of their products.
Very, very tasty. Can I nibble some more?
No problem.
And in terms of availability, you'd have stock in your warehouse. Let's talk logistics and practicalities. Yeah.
I guess so how it's worked with the businesses, at least from Zim, is that we're getting a shipment as stock decreases. So I'll get in touch with the owner of Chorus. I'll let her know that, okay, our stock is here and here. We're expecting orders like this and like this. Can we have more stock of the product? And she'll get it to us usually within 2 to 3 weeks. And that's kind of how it's been, to make sure for the customer that before stock finishes, we have enough for the orders that are going to come.
And how user-friendly or interactive is the platform?
I think I smile because our previous version wasn't as interactive, but the one that we have now is very interactive. I think a seamless, straightforward experience for the customer. Once you get to the landing page, you've got the new products, you've got banners with maybe there might be sales, and after that, navigating through the 5 categories that Bogosi mentioned is quite seamless for the customer.
Do you ever get specials? And if so, how do you handle them?
We do get specials. Part of what we want to do is obviously get people encouraged to buy African products. So that is something that we do. But a big part of running specials is ensuring that we don't want people only coming when there are specials. We want people to understand that we're selling products. There is great value to them. There's tasty treats. There's amazing coffee. There's quality dishwashing liquid that you as a customer should feel and appreciate the quality for. Mm-hmm. And so specials are something we do, but not too often, because we don't want it to be a thing that, we only want customers to come because things are cheaper.
Another random products that I'm picking. Tell me about this one, its availability and what it does.
So this is Exude Sense, also a very early business onto Bobsa. Mm-hmm. So obviously, when you're starting out as an e-commerce platform, one of the hardest things is getting brands on board. The first brand that you get on board is asking, am I going to be the only brand on your store? What's the point? The second brand as well, the third, the fourth, the fifth. So we show a lot of love to the early brands, especially the early brands. We show a lot of love to all of our brands, but especially the early ones.
I know what you mean.
Yeah. So Exude Sense is one of those. They specialize in fragrances that are your scented candles, and that's basically what they do. They make amazing scents. They also do very well, especially during your Mother's Day, your those days where there's lots of gift giving or that kind of thing.
How do you promote the products? Do you have a particular strategy, even if it's a digital strategy online?
So for us, it's been very difficult because we've been learning along this journey, and so we've had to do, like you say, we're not just a particular role. I'm not just the CEO, he's not just the COO. We spend a lot of time doing a lot of other things, which is learning at the end of the day, learning what works, what doesn't work. And currently, we onboarded our first employee who is a digital marketer. So we realized that as much as we can try our best, which we did well, as happy as we were, but we decided, hey, let's get somebody professional in here. And so currently, how we do our marketing is through, obviously, our digital marketer. She handles everything. So we've made it our point that she's the boss of that department. So whenever it comes to maybe adverts or products that we now need to have specials with, or if we have a meeting with the supplier who wants to run a specific campaign for a specific part of the month or the year, we then go to our boss, our marketing boss, to say, hey, what do we do? When there's videos that need to be posted on our social media platforms. So we do our best to leverage free marketing. So your digital marketing, your social media platforms, and we take it from there, basically.
Okay. You can't get very far without challenges and setbacks in life, in business especially. I know for a fact as a business person myself. What would you say are the challenges or the setbacks? Are there any spectacular setbacks you've had? Any challenges of note?
I think the one that comes to my mind as soon as you speak of like major setbacks was, I suppose, with the initial development of the website. Here we were really excited that we were negotiating with people. Yeah, we'll build your website, we'll sort it out, we'll get it done. And I think a couple of days before kind of everything was agreed upon and sorted for the website to be created, the guys just say, we can't do it anymore. Sorry, you're going to have to find someone else.
Just like that.
I think we always knew we were never going to stop. Like, Bobsa is going where it's going. But I think that point was really tough because we hadn't even started and we were already getting stopped. So it felt like a really difficult moment to kind of have to pick ourselves back up and get things done.
And to add, that didn't happen only one time. It happened about 7 times with 7 different developers. Yeah. Where we had come with this idea of what we wanted to do. Can you do it for us? So we had an elaborate idea of, and I think maybe we'll talk more to it later on. So our initial idea of Bobsa was me, people in general, or whoever it is, if you're at home, you open your cupboard, you see the products that are there. We want them to be African owned. You go into the fridge and you open your fridge. we want them to be African owned, if you want them to be, of course. So we started thinking if products from the West, if products from America, from Europe, can so easily arrive onto our shores, why can ours not arrive into our cupboards and our fridges as easily? So what we had as an idea for the platform we had was this 3D space where there are different rooms in your house, and in each room you have different items. And within each of the items you had products that related...
different category of items.
Essentially, related to that specific item within your house. So for example, you could choose a room that you had. You would click on the kitchen, for example. You'd have a dining table, a fridge, a stove. And if you decided to click on the stove, it would show you all of these black-owned restaurants within your area. If you clicked on the fridge, it would show you, brands that offer certain foods or beverages. We had a drinks cabinet. If you open the drinks cabinet, it would show you brands that then offered your beverages as well. Yeah. So it went across the whole house, and the whole idea was to show people that there are so many quality African-owned businesses in the continent, in our country as well. How do we then visually show this to our customers? Yeah. And I think the big difficulty with that was, developers saying this is not going to be an easy task, either trying to do the task for us and not being able to, or perhaps our budget not being enough, evidently.
Yeah, I mentioned Jeff Bezos briefly in the context of Amazon. I'm just wondering whether you think of Amazon as your competition, you think of Alibaba as your competition, Take a Lot as your competition, and if you do, how do you set yourself heads and shoulders above them? How do you distinguish yourself from those?
I think you can add if you want to as well, no? I think it's a controversial one because we believe that we're indirect competitors in that we offer certain products that these platforms offer. But in the grand scheme of things, we don't cater to the same suppliers, and we don't cater to the same customers. So what I mean by that is we work with a lot of local African SMMEs, a lot of which, like Organic Naturals that we mentioned, have been on Take a Lot. A few other brands that we have are also on Take a Lot. I'm sure they're listing on Amazon as well. They struggle to do well on...
That one is, for instance, is it in all of them?
This one, I'm not too sure about this one, but I do know they're not here. It's not here. It's not here. Yeah.
Okay. There's also the coffee here.
The coffee is...
So they can... So you don't have exclusivity?
No, we don't have exclusivity. We, at the bottom of the line, at the end of it, we want these brands to be everywhere. The same way you can get Coke in a garage, in a hotel, online, in somebody's spaza shop, is the same way that we want these brands, our local African brands, to be accessible in all channels of e-com or all channels of commerce at the end of the day.
So perhaps you can try answering the question of what sets you apart, like I was saying.
I think, number one, it's the uniqueness of the brands that we have at this point in time. I don't think, which is what we're trying to solve, but I don't think many of the brands that we have are accessible in all of these different spaces. So that's one of our selling points. I think the other is definitely something of us being new and fresh, with something different to what the whole market has. So that's another angle that sets us apart, that makes us different to what's there already.
And I would like to add, we touched on this ginger treat. So a lot of the products that we have and the brands that we have on our platform, they use indigenous ingredients, a lot of which, the West, Europe, America don't use and don't have at the end of the day. So a lot of the products that we do have, they're indigenous at the end of the day. They use ingredients that are made in our soil, that are made for us, by us. And this is just one of many...
For us, by us.
Yeah, for us. And this is one of many examples of why we believe that, the products that we have, as much as you can get a hand and body lotion anywhere, If you look at the ingredients that are usually used in these products, they're very indigenous products that have a lot of benefits, obviously.
We talked about your setbacks and your challenges. Let's talk for a minute about your triumphs and successes. What would you say, if you had to blow your own trumpet, was one of your biggest successes or some of your biggest highlights so far?
If I can start, I would definitely like to say that, in the first 6 months, it took us, for the first business to come onto our platform, it took us 6 months. And currently we have about 400.
Marketing and begging and pleading.
And begging. And it's at this point in time, a year and a half down the line or so, we currently have close to 400 brands on the platform.
400
products, 40 brands. So on average, there's 10 products per brand.
Congratulations.
And thank you.
It's very impressive.
We're trying.
Yeah.
And we also have products from 4 different countries. So that's South Africa, Zimbabwe, Lesotho, and Botswana. And that's obviously a big achievement for us. It's what our strategy at the moment is. We want to bring Africa to South Africa, and then we want to take Bobsa to Africa. Exactly, yeah. So that for me would be the biggest achievement. It's how we've been able to go from zero to where we are now. I don't know about you, Obi.
I suppose it speaks a bit less to specifically Bobsa, but essentially being the people that run the platform. I think being accepted into multiple incubators, accelerator spaces has really been a point of success for me, because I think it's validation, number one, to say that you're doing something that holds value, but number two, to say, let us give you the opportunity as well to learn in a space with like-minded people and grow in that space. So I think that's also been a great success, the incubators and accelerators that we've been able to be a part of.
In Botswana, we have a thing called mindset change, where the government is encouraging people to change their thinking a little bit, to think globally, to think more positively and progressively about things. So in that context, are you interacting with governments across Southern Africa as a young startup or relatively young startup? How's your interaction with governments? Are you getting any kind of assistance? And what's been your experience?
I think in terms of, if I can start at least within South Africa, we have tried to connect with different government entities, and there's one specific one that I want to speak about, so I'd like if Bobo can speak about the rest. But mine is more pertaining again to Zim as part of what was an Eagle's Nest incubator. We were able to gain a couple of connections and networks to government entities in trying to bring a bigger reach to Bobsa. So I think the discussion on that side is more so how to get us there as well, but also how to get their products to us.
And are they responding positively?
At the moment, it's a bit slow, but the initial response was very positive. I think there are a lot of discussions.
Okay, basically you are banging your head against a brick wall.
A little bit.
Okay.
But the discussions will make progress.
In due time. We have to remain positive.
I think locally what we've seen is government entities that have a very similar mandate to us, which at the end of the day, we're in the business of making money for small businesses, or better yet, African-owned businesses, which is a very similar mandate to what government entities have, specifically within South Africa, which is to give them access to markets at the end of the day. And so I think this side we've had a better response in terms of what we want to do, what we want to achieve, and the kind of synergies and partnerships we do see with government entities.
How have they helped you specifically?
They've allowed us to set up meetings, which we have to confirm. They've allowed us to send through proposals as well. So they're giving us a platform to speak and to pitch, essentially.
Okay.
And so what we're doing is now very busy, but we're just trying to now collate all the information that we can and see how best we can create proper synergies with these entities. So they're giving us the microphone at the very least. Yeah.
You didn't mention this, but when we were talking about challenges, a lot of startups talk about issues of funding, issues of capitalization. Has that been a problem for you in any way, shape, or form?
Definitely. As a startup, money is so important, but I think what we've learned is bootstrapping. Bootstrapping forces you to to buy bread with 1 rand, so that when that 100 rand comes in, you know how you're going to use your money. So it's almost a gift, a hidden gift. There's a term for it, but there's a gift in the fact that we haven't been able to get the kind of
book
funding.
by a guy called Damon John called The Power of Broke. He says if you are broke, you have more power than somebody when you're starting up. Somebody who's got all the money. I don't know what you think of that.
No, definitely. I think that's what it is. I don't know if you have anything to say, Obi.
I think similar. We're kind of trying to use that as our superpower. You have to become resourceful. You have to make things work with what you have. Because I think it goes back to the thing that all of us can say we can't do anything because you don't have anything.
Yeah.
But you have something. You have breath. You have a conversation with the next person.
Are you able to give an example of an interesting story where this came true in your lives, where really you're on the verge of almost giving up until you dug deeper and became resourceful?
I think maybe one of them can almost be, I think, part of the journey to why we're able to be here on this podcast. But we went to an exhibition we were invited and funded for an exhibition in Sandton Convention Center, where we had just sent an application, which is open to everyone. And it was like, okay, if we get it, it's an opportunity. We got accepted, we got funded to the exhibition, and there we had access to different people. Sandton Convention Center is a huge meeting place. And the networks we got from there, I think, enabled this conversation to happen. If I speak about it in less detail. Without that, we don't get here. And I think at that point, it's easy to say, why should I apply? It's been so difficult so far. I don't know if it's going to work. But it's kind of apply.
Taking that step, it led to other, they call it serendipity and synchronicities, where things just come together. Unlike if you had given up, you know. All right, now, can I touch on technology in the sense that the buzzword now is AI, artificial intelligence? Have you found ways to deploy it in your favor, to your advantage in any way? Artificial intelligence, or are you working on it?
I'd say I think it's something that always needs to be worked on, but it is something that we have integrated where we can into the platform. So sometimes we've tried to leverage ChatGPT, which is an AI platform, if I can call it that, in the work we do, maybe to help us with...
These treats are really nice. Sorry about the interruption.
No problem.
Maybe if it's helping us summarize something in a shorter amount of time than it would have taken us kind of writing it with our hands. Maybe if it's helping with specific points of ideation, because I think all the information is on the internet, but going through it through 100 different pages is a lot harder than to ask ChatGPT for a collation of those 100 pages, the most important information, and we get access to that. So it saved us a lot of time to this point.
Excellent. Do you want to add to that?
Yeah, definitely. I'd say AI is definitely the actual CEO of Bobsa, or maybe I should say, it's my best friend in terms of the work that we do. For me, I think because of the fact that we're still a very small company, we have to do a lot of the work. We have to do a lot of stuff every single day. So what AI does and allows you to do is to do a lot of that work in a lot less time, which then allows you to do a lot more work. So what I've seen is that a lot of the time I'm trying to use my time even more efficiently, and AI definitely does that. Like, for example, if there's a product that we need to upload, there's probably 20 to 25 different line items that we would have to add for that product to actually just do okay on a search engine. And so with ChatGPT, you would then just put maybe a description, and I would ask it to fill in all those 20 line items. So now something that would take me 1 hour for one product would take me 2 minutes for 10. So
Yeah.
it's something that really does speed up the process,
Yeah,
definitely
it does,
for
it
us.
does. Let's talk monetization in general. There might be a young entrepreneur watching this podcast wondering how one makes money in all of this and asking themselves, "Ahona le Zaga, Zaga e kae?" And the question that one would ask is therefore, where is the Zaga in this industry, and how does one really um, survive in it financially in the long term?
Do you mind if I take?
Yeah, go ahead.
I think for us, what we know is when it comes to e-commerce, especially globally, it's a numbers game. You need to be playing at a very, very high level. You need to be playing, especially when you're talking about fast-moving consumer goods, you need to be talking at very big volumes. So for us in everything we do, it's the end goal is there, or the goal is there, even if it's not the end goal. But the goal is we want to be serving 5 million customers across Africa, happy customers, loyal customers. And for us, that's at the end of the day, that's where the Zaga is. If
Yeah.
we're talking real Zaga, where our kids and our kids' kids and our kids' kids can live a normal life without having to worry about money, that's what gets us there.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's numbers, and it's being able to, like they say, if you can solve 1 million people's problems, you'll be a millionaire.
Yeah.
I think,
So-
sorry, just to add to that is kind of what I'd like to say about maybe the mentality that I think entrepreneurship, I don't think is Zaga after 6 months, after 2 years, after 3, maybe after 5 if things go well. So it's kind of a thing of, we know that, like you said, at the end, Zaga's coming there.
Yeah,
We have to,
they have to fight their way through the hard times. And speaking about going continentally, going to the deeper part of Africa, are there actual plans in place? I'm looking at it in the context of AFCTA, Africa Free Continental Trade Agreement, which is aimed at creating a common market eventually for Africa. Are you looking into exploring that and seeing how you can be assisted through that agreement, going to Ghana, going to Nigeria, going to Egypt?
I mean, I think naturally we would like to be at the forefront of that, really expanding into all of the different regions. It's also something we've been thinking of in terms of being able to make sure our logistics are correctly in place to be able to properly serve the customers there. Because I think if we can't get you your product when we said you're going to get your product, it's a bit difficult. But we are looking to expand, and I think I'd say in the next 5 years be completely within the SADC region. And I don't want to say have control over that market, but just have proper, efficient delivery and customer base within that market.
Okay. Who are your heroes or your shiros? Who do you guys look up to, either in this industry or generally in terms of who you wish you could emulate, in terms of business acumen, performance? Surely you have a few heroes or shiros.
I think it's a question that I haven't really reflected on, I suppose, outside of like maybe football spaces, because that's where I also spend a lot of my time. But
Are you a Messi guy or a Ronaldo guy?
I'd have to say Messi.
Okay, yeah, all right. I won't go deeper down that rabbit hole.
Heroes and sheroes. I mean, to bring it, I suppose, close to home, like I must say my mom is definitely a shero. I think for the 27 years I've been here, she's been one person to champion entrepreneurship. She never wanted to work for anyone else or have anyone else own her time, if I can say that.
Yeah.
As much as I never really thought about it growing up, I think that definitely
Was she an
was in my
entrepreneur?
mind. She has a couple of businesses that she's working through. One of them, Cha, is on Bobsa.
Which one is that?
They do the bags
Oh, okay,
and some of the bags and
They're on the
packaging.
platform. Okay.
So I think she's always championed that. It fell through into my sister, who also works with Cha, and I think the traces are here with me being on Bobsa. So I'd
Kudos
say,
to Mama Rukato, is that? Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah. And then yourself?
It might seem a bit egotistical, but I think future me is my hero.
In other words, you project yourself into the future
Yes.
as you want to be,
Exactly.
and you admire yourself now.
Yeah.
Wow.
So what I do is obviously I paint a picture of the best version of myself, and that's what I'm chasing. Almost like, you know, a horse with a piece of carrot in front of it.
Yeah.
That's, if I had to give an egotistical answer, that would be it.
Mm.
But if not, I would literally say the people around me. I've got amazing business partners. I've got amazing partner. I've got an amazing family, amazing friends that I learn a lot from every single day in different ways. And for me, those are my heroes and sheroes. It could never be one person. I'm not one person. I'm the product of many different people. So not to say what Obi said is invalid or anything, but I think for me that's a better picture of who my heroes and sheroes are. Yeah.
As we come to the conclusion of our conversation, we're beginning to wrap up. What does your crystal ball tell you about the future? If I was to think in terms of 2 decades, 3 decades down the line, what do we see coming out of Bobsa as a brand, or you yourselves individually as brands?
I think for me, for Bobsa, what I see is a brand that is a true African champion, a brand that speaks to Africa and all of its countries, a brand that makes people and customers not only feel at home when they're shopping on the platform, but feel like they're part of something bigger, which is more than just perhaps the city that they come from, the province or the country that they come from, but something that us as Africans can look at, be proud of, and can champion. We want people who look at Bobsa and get inspired to start their own business. We want more people to become entrepreneurs. You know, we believe that the backbone of any developing country is entrepreneurship, whether it's small, whether it's informal, whether it's formal. And so what we want to do is create an ecosystem where people, especially young women, are confident enough to start businesses, and to believe that when they do start those businesses, as quality as they are, that there will be platforms like Bobsa that will bring them on board with open arms. Yeah.
Wow, that's a very good answer. It's a very, very good answer. You have to add to that?
I think to add to that, it's almost kind of in a similar vein that I think Bobsa, at the end of the day, I'd like it to be a lifestyle. Like we said, it started with you open your cupboard, all of these Western brands are there. That's, I guess, your lifestyle. All of these appliances you have are Western appliances. It's your lifestyle. We want Bobsa to be a lifestyle. African brands in my cupboard, that's my lifestyle.
Yeah.
African appliances, that's the way I live. I live for the people that I'm around.
Yeah. You're going to get to ask me a question each, but before you do, what would you say is your secret of success in a nutshell? And what would you say is your secret of success?
The most cliche, but I think it will always apply, never give up. Never stop going forward. You're always going to take hits. You're always going to be going against something. But if you give up, you'll never win.
True that.
For me, I think it's 2 parts which come together very well. The first one is I know what makes me happy and I know what I love to do. And the second is I love failing, because it's just another way of learning what doesn't work, which puts me towards what does. So when I do what I love and I, learn how not to fail, those 2 things have made me who I am today, where I can not only fail, but I enjoy the process of failing. And in failing, I learn and I become a better version of myself, that mirror of myself in the future. I get closer and closer every single day, every single time I fail. So failure doesn't become something that's embarrassing or scary or sad, but it's something that gets me excited, gets me realizing that I'm actually on the right path here. Yeah.
Wow. Great answer. You first. Oh, any one of you first can ask me a question.
I think my question that I have would be, as a very successful entrepreneur, like, what would you advise or change from Bobsa at this point in time, from what you've seen, from what you know? What would your advice be? What would you change?
Well, I've only met Bobsa literally today. And my impression is that you are taking those baby steps and you are not getting ahead of yourselves. And from the way you answered my questions, I'm highly impressed. And I would not have signed the contract otherwise for you to distribute my book. So I think keep on what you are doing. If anything, just increase the work rate, continue to do that, and continue to be imaginative and forward-looking. And your success is guaranteed through, obviously, consistency and discipline. Those are the two ingredients, consistency and discipline.
Thank you.
Question?
From the very little I do know as well about you, but what I do know is that you are very successful. You have multiple businesses. You've started an amazing podcast that has provided us with this platform. But
Thank you, by the way, for providing your home.
Of course.
If you're not thinking outside the box, for those who are watching, we're meant to do this in a hotel I'm staying at. At the last minute, they said we have to pay them a fortune. And these young men said, no, we have a house. We can create a studio there. And we're able to do it. Thinking outside the box, being imaginative. Congratulations about that mindset. You must maintain it. You need it. It works. Yeah. What was the question?
No problem. I would then ask, what do you see for the future of Africa? What would be ideally the future that you want to see for the younger generation, whether it's us, whether it's your kids, and more so the entrepreneurship side of things?
Yeah.
How do you see the landscape?
I think the future for Africa is more than bright. You know, if you look at it, everything started in Africa. The cradle of civilization, first man was here, and some argue even the Garden of Eden was here. And now you can see that the biggest presence of all the minerals is in Africa. Despite all the pillaging and plundering that has happened over the millennia, Africa is still the place to be. Any company that is listed in the stock exchange internationally prides itself of having a strong presence in one form or the other in Africa. So to me, it's like the Africa is rediscovering itself. You know, there have been times throughout the millennia when Africa was on top, going back to the time of the Egyptians, going back to the time of the Mali Empire, the time of the Tapa Empire, and so on. And now it seems to those who are not aware of history that Africa is a bit... No, Africa is just a little bit down. And if you look at the fact that the youngest population is in Africa, if you look at the fact that we're now creating a common market of 1.4 to 1.5 billion people within the next decade or two, I feel very positive about Africa. It's a dynamic, wonderful place. And I feel the future is very, very bright. From the point of view of young people, I have 4 children myself, and some of them work in my businesses, and I see their involvement, I see the energy level, and I think things look very, very bright indeed for the continent and for the world at large. Yeah, it's Africa's time. Yeah. All right, now at this point, I'm going to ask you to look at that camera and leave that viewer with one final lasting message as we wrap up.
Bogosi Morujele from Bobsa.co.za. Thank you so much for the opportunity. My final message would then be Rekaofela.
Short and sweet.
Short and sweet.
I'd go on to say the same. Obert Rukato from Bobsa. Thank you so much for watching. If you haven't subscribed already, subscribe. And of course, please visit Bobsa, www.bobsa.co.za.
Rekaofela.
Yeah.
Now give them all the contact details, first you and on social media and elsewhere, wherever you can be reached.
Bobsa can be found anywhere and everywhere. Our website, that's where we direct most people, which is bobsa.co.za. As we expand throughout Africa, we'll have websites for you guys as well, wherever you are watching in the continent. Otherwise, if it's social media, you can find us at Bobsa_Rekaofela. Everywhere. Literally everywhere. Yeah.
Do you have a separate LinkedIn or?
Not separate, but to reach us as individuals, it's just our names on LinkedIn.
Okay.
Thank
Cool.
you.
It remains for me, dear viewer, to thank you so much for taking the time out of your extremely busy schedule to watch this podcast. Through your help, we're going to reach all over the continent and do wonders for the continent. Please, if you haven't done so, please hit that subscribe button and stay tuned. Thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye.